Good afternoon. My name is Andre Ford. I'm with the Workforce Solutions of Greater Dallas. I'm actually located specifically at the Redbird office that's located now in the Redbird Mall that is being renovated. Um, Today, we're going to, my position basically is a talent engagement specialist. And what that involves is kind of a myriad of a lot of things. More specifically to this situation, I assist people with um, their resumes. I assist people with information on how to look for a job, what things to expect when they go for an interview, um, and if they have any need for training, I assist with that as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about today about basically some of the things that are involved in currently interviewing, involved in what you should be having on your resume currently at this time. Obviously, with the pandemic going on, the face-to-face contact has been put on hold. So you have to rely on other ways to impress the individuals or the companies that you are looking to work for. So there's some things you need to keep in mind that are a little bit different from the way things were before. A little bit different, but still really the same. Um, so let's talk a little bit about resumes. Resumes obviously haven't changed. That portion of it hasn't changed. But you do want to make sure that your resume is a excellent reflection of you without the employer being able to actually see your face or know what your personality is. So you want to make sure that the format that you are using for your resume is appropriate, especially to the field that you are applying for, because there are certain fields where um, different formats are to be used specifically. So let's say, like, I think one of the fields that requires a different format would be something, in the medical field. Sometimes, depending on the position, you would need a different format for your resume. Um, but more specifically, there are um, three types of um, resume formats. Probably the most popular one is going to be the chronological format. Now, there's a couple of different styles to that. Again, the chronological style, and there's also the functional style. You can access these type of styles of formats on the internet. Obviously, you can research that on Google, or we can provide some of that information to you if you want through the workforce as well. So, but you want the two main formats that are styles that are being used are chronological and functional. Um, More with your resume, a lot of people, um, when you put your experience on your resume, you want to make sure that the resume is capped at 7 years. Now, I say that if you have not been on the same job for 15, 20 years, then obviously your resume would include that one job, and it would include all the years of experience that you have had on that job, as well as the progression in positions if you have progressed on that job to more than one position. You want to show that progression in that 15, 10, 15, 20 years on your resume. Now, if you have changed jobs more than two, three times in a 7 to 10 year period, then again, that's when you really want to kind of stick to the 7 years. Um, you may have worked one job for 3 years. You may have worked another job for 5 years. So obviously you would only list those two jobs on your resume, even though it encompasses 8 years. It's still within the realm of you listing up to 7 years on your resume. A lot of times with individuals who are, let's say, over 40, over 50, tend to be a little bit proud of all the things that they've done in their life, especially professionally. You want to make sure that, again, you stick to that 7-year rule. Again, the exception being if you were on a job for more than 7 years, one job for more than 7 years, then you'll just be listing that one particular job. But no matter how proud you are of the accomplishments that you have made, again, you want to stick to that format, okay? Because employers are not concerned with anything really over 7 years of employment. The next thing I'll talk about is length of your resume. Ideally, if we could all keep our resume at 1 page, that would be ideal. But for those of us that have, years of experience and have worked multiple jobs over the years, your resume might extend into 2 pages. So having 2 pages and you are 20 to 25 years into your career is not a bad thing. So if anybody tells you that having a 2-page resume is a bad thing, it's not. If you have the years of experience that takes you into the 2 pages. Now, of course, if you don't, your resume just needs to be at least 1 page. And you want to make sure that, again, you cover all the categories depending on what format that you're using. So some of those, like with a chronological resume, you want to be able to use a summary statement. And this statement basically is a summation, a short summation. At the most 2 sentences, maybe 3, a short summation of what your experience is or what you're looking for. So you want to make sure that it is concise, it is specific, and it tells a brief story, again, of what you've done and what you're looking to do. The next section of the resume would be highlighting your skills. This is going to be, there are different formats to this, but generally this is going to be in a bulleted format, whereas the resume the summary statement is going to be in a kind of a paragraph form. So you're gonna start off with a paragraph form for the summary statement, and then for the skills section, you're going to enter into a bulleted format. Okay. Now that bulleted format should be short statements in reference to your skills. Not necessarily, it shouldn't be sentences. Again, it should be short statements that describe your skills. And in doing that, you want to stick to at the most 5 to 7 in that particular category. I've seen resumes where people have listed 10 to 15 skills, and you don't want to do that. You want to stick to about 5 to 7 specific skills that describe what you have done in your career. So that's another category. And then we get into, of course, the body of the resume, which is, your specific experience. Again, you want these to be not necessarily, it shouldn't be in a paragraph form. So this should be, again, in bulleted statements. but these statements can be a little bit longer and a little bit more complete in thought. So, but you want to list anywhere from 5 to 7 different statements of what you describe as your actual, what you actually did on your job. And again, they can be longer versus the skills section, which are kind of are like short thoughts. You want this section to be more or less as close to a complete thought, but not in paragraph form. So I wish I had some examples to actually show you what this looks like. Unfortunately, I don't. But if you would like to get examples of it, again, I will be able to provide that to you if you want to include your email address in the chat. So one of the questions in the chat is, do you have any tips on how one should highlight their skills if they are pivoting to another career? If there is a vast difference in what you were doing before and what you were trying to, as you put it, pivot to, and there is no crossover experience or nothing that is relative from one to the other, then of course the only thing that you can do is list what you have done. But if what you are trying to pivot to has a little bit of crossover in terms of skills and education, of the education that you have gotten, and that crosses over into whatever you're trying to go into, then of course you want to try to use that crossover information as much as possible. Obviously not going to be exact, but you want to be able to take the information from both jobs. And again, if you have something that's relative between both jobs, you want to take that information and kind of merge it together. And that's how you, let's say, give the employer the idea that you do have some experience in reference to the new job that you are trying to get. So hopefully that makes some sense. Okay. And just gonna kind of finish my thought on the resume formatting. One of the things that's important on your resume right now, of course, is your education. So if you have any degrees or certifications that you have acquired, you want to make sure that you list that information on your resume. Now, don't go back to high school. Don't go back to anything that you didn't complete. You want to make sure you list only those degrees or certifications or classes that you actually did complete. Now, I said degrees and certifications. Now, if you have taken some classes that were for certificate purposes, meaning that you took a class that was for job enhancement skills, you also want to list that on your resume in your education services, in your education section. So degrees, certifications, certificates, but make sure that it's degrees that you can, well, obviously if you have a degree, you completed it. But so if you started school and didn't complete school, then you can, I would not say not to list. Well, let's put it this way. If you didn't complete at least 2 years of school at the particular college that you went to, then I would not put that on my resume. But if you did complete more than 2 years, then you can list that on your resume. Obviously, there's going to have to be some explanation if the future employer ask you as to why you didn't complete the degree or certification. Um, and so you're going to have to explain that. So if you don't want to have to explain that, then obviously if you didn't complete the certification or degree, you don't want to put that on your resume. But like I said, if you did complete more than 2 years, um, then again, you can put that on there, but know that that's probably going to be an explanation provided. There's going to have to be an explanation provided to the employer, future employer, as to why you did not complete your degree or certification. So keep that in mind. And probably most important, especially in terms of this environment that we're in, that because everything right now is technical, everything is virtual, everything involves technology. So if you have technical skills, if you have skills that require that you've used certain software, you want to be able to list that software or those technical skills on your resume. I always, in some of my orientations that I teach, for those that work in the logistical environment, especially like an Amazon or even a UPS, most online retailers, most shipping companies are using now more technology in their warehouses than ever before, because they're basically trying to cut down on manpower, but at the same time they're trying to be as efficient as possible, and they're trying to cut out human error. So technically, most companies would like to have employees that are technically versed. So again, that doesn't mean that you have to be an IT person. That doesn't mean that you have to know coding to write a program. That means just in terms of basic computer use. You need to know how to be able to use a computer, how to maneuver a computer. If someone says, you start at a company and they have a particular database program that they use with their company, do you have the technical ability to be able to understand how that program works from the basics? Now, you don't have to know the program, but you do have to know what are the basic workings of a software program, that it makes sense to you to know what the progressions are. And that's what a lot of people don't take into account when it comes to software. Again, most companies don't expect you to know a lot of the software or any of the software that they use for their day-to-day operations. But at least you should know how to maneuver. You should know the typical basic progression of how to use software. And so that's something that if your skills are not up to that level, you need to get to that level. And there are a lot of useful programs on the internet that you can take advantage of. Some might be free. Obviously, some there might be a cost involved. And there are, especially here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are schools that are specific to that. Now, I will throw this in the mix. We have, as part of our repertoire, some things that you can take advantage of at the workforce. We do have a basic computer class. So that computer class is free. All of our workshops are free. So you can take advantage of this basic computer class or basic computer workshop and learn how to maneuver or use or know the basics of how to use a computer and software. There's also some typing lessons in there. There's also, there's a lot involved in this basic computer class. So again, it's free. You want to take advantage of it even if you're just looking to refresh your skills. You want to take advantage of stuff like that we offer. Okay. So that's going to be it. And of course, if you speak more than one language, you definitely want to make sure that that is on your resume. Let people know that that you're bilingual. It is an advantage. There's an advantage to it pay-wise when you are bilingual in certain industries. So let me look at another question here in the chat. Okay, so one of the questions here is what information should you highlight in your cover letter? Cover letters have to be very specific. So you may have heard the term, look at the information or the job description of the job you're applying for and tailor your resume to fit that. Well, your resume, you can kind of get creative with and be a little bit more general in terms of relating your skills to that specific job description. But with your cover letter, you have to be very specific. So if you are in the same field of the job that you're applying for and you're preparing a cover letter, obviously you want to make sure that your skills from the previous job are relative to the skills of the other job, and you want to make sure that's reflected on the cover letter. Now, if there is, let's say, some vagueness in terms of what your experience is versus the job that you're applying for. So let's say that the job requires you're applying for an accounting job, and that job requires that you know forensic accounting, or I don't know the different categories. There's several different categories of different type of accounting. So let's say you've done general accounting, but you haven't really moved over into a specification in terms of accounting. So in this situation, obviously you want to highlight what your experience was, even though it was general accounting. You want to be very specific. But because you haven't entered into a specific category of accounting, you want to be able to point out what your experience is in that cover letter. You want to be able to point out any education, and that's what's going to be important, is any education that you have acquired that might not necessarily be specific to the new job that you're moving to, but relative to the job that you're moving to. So at least there's something there that relates to this other position. So again, kind of rehashing that, if it's not specific, then again, the only thing you can do is obviously list the information that is specific to what you did, and they can look at that and say, okay, well, he or she has got good experience in accounting. Let's figure out how to teach them, or what can they do to be able to move into this other specific category, move from the general to the specific. And when you're listing that information, that your job experience on that cover letter, you want to, there are obviously several different cover letter formats, but you want to do it in a bulleted fashion. The one I like is where you start off with an introduction of who you are and what the purpose is of you focusing in on this position that you're looking for. And in focusing in on that position, now you list maybe 3 to 5 bulleted points that are either that are specific to what your job duties were, or specific and relative to what the duties of the position that you're applying for. And then, of course, after that, you go into your closing statement in terms of why they should hire you, why your skills are preferable for them to look at you as a potential employee. So hopefully I've answered that questions. Again, I wish I had more. I wish I had some actual examples to show you guys, but yes, that's and again, you can put your email in the chat, and I will take that information, and I will email you specific information so that you can have something as a more specific example. Okay. Let's see. One more question here. Are there any particular skills that employers find especially valuable that should be highlighted, hard or soft? In this particular environment, it's going to be technical skills. So that's going to be the most important thing, or the most valuable thing that you can highlight on your resume. A lot of times people have used software, whether it's proprietary to the company that you previously worked for, or it's something that is general. Let's say like a Microsoft Excel, or a specific database program. You want to be able to highlight that information on your resume, because like I said, this is a environment right now where everything is technical. So the more that you can prove you have computer prowess, and the ability to maneuver and manipulate a computer, software, things like that, that's going to be the thing that you want to highlight the most on your resume. Now, don't be afraid, again, if you did use a software program that was proprietary to the previous company that you worked for. As long as you can list that on your resume, but you want to be able to, again, explain what that program did. You want to be able to relate that program to what software or technology need that company that you're looking at working for. You want to be able to relate that to what they're looking for. So, obviously, if you can find out, or in the interview, ask what type of technical needs that employer is expecting of, in that position. That would be a good question to ask, so that you can, again, take what you have learned and what your technical skills are, and try to adapt that or match that to what they are looking for. Okay. So, but that's going to be probably the most important thing right now. One of the things that I try to encourage people to do is, even if you don't have a specific, let's say, project or need to sit down at your computer, just start using the different software that's on your computer, or start looking at other software that's most popular in the market. Just like Excel, every company in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it's front end or back end, every company uses Excel. So what's your experience level with Excel? Is it a beginner? Is it intermediate? Is it experienced? Is it expert? There are 4 levels to using Excel. Obviously, if you're in the accounting field, then you want to make sure that you're probably, even if you've only been doing basic accounting functions, now you want to, and you're looking to do something either more specific in accounting, or you're wanting to move up to the next level in accounting. Well, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that you're an expert in using Excel, even though you may not use expert level functions in the next job that you have. But the fact that you have shown the prowess to be able to learn the expert functions, you don't know what opportunity that might create once that potential employer finds out that you know Excel at that level. But you can't wait till you get the job to learn Excel at that level. If you have a computer at home and you have time, sit down at that computer, use the software that's on it. Again, there are other resources out there that you can, like I said, that there's either a cost to it or it's free. Like with the workforce, we have a free option for you to be able to learn all the Microsoft products for each level. And that program is called the Academy. It's free and you can access it 24/7. Now, that is more for career advancement. So at the end of each program, it's not for a degree, it's not for a certification, but you get a certificate. So if you complete the expert level in Excel using this program, then you can print out a certificate. So if you go to an employer or interview with an employer, you want to make sure you have that information on your resume, that you are expert level user with Excel, that you use the Academy through the workforce to be able to get that knowledge, and that you have a certificate to prove that you wouldn't put you'd put that you received the certificate on the resume. And then again, you would have that certificate with you once you get the job, and that employer asks you to provide proof so they can put it in your employment file. Now you can go to the Academy and be able to print out that certificate so that you can have that to provide to the employer. So again, now with this particular program, if you want to increase your knowledge of management, if you want to increase your knowledge of different writing skills, if you want to be able to, there are English courses in there. I mean, it's a program that has over 5,000 different courses. Again, it's free and it's available to you 24/7. And so if you would like to be signed up for that, again, just let me know. It requires that I know your first and last name and your email address. So, but it's a very good program that you want to take advantage of. Again, if you don't have any college education to put on your resume, this would be something great to use this program to take different courses, whether they're specifically related to what you're looking at in terms of job function, or not. it's a good way to show that you are continuing to learn and you are continuing to educate yourself and showing progression. Because that's one of the things that I come across the most. People have, even if they've gotten a degree, they got a degree 20 years ago, but their resume doesn't show any progression. It doesn't show any additional advancement or education. And again, even if that's a program that's just for certificate, you want to be able to show that you're continuing to learn, that you're continuing to advance your knowledge and keep up with the market. So again, if you're wanting to be signed up for that program, that's easy to do. Just let me know. Okay. Now, interviewing skills. We do have a workshop that we call Get Ready, Get Hired. Again, it's free. There's no sign up. The website you would go to for to access the basic computer class, the interviewing class. Obviously, as part of looking for a job, you want to take advantage of social media. So we have a social media class. We have a LinkedIn class that if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, you want to create a LinkedIn profile. And if you already have one, you want to be able to learn a little bit more how to use that program and make it and use it to your advantage, then you definitely want to take this workshop. So the basic computer class, the social media workshop, the LinkedIn workshop, and the Get Ready, Get Hired. These are 4 workshops that if you're looking for a job, you can definitely learn something from. The Get Ready, Get Hired interviewing workshop. I love this particular one. I actually used to teach this one where we go through mock interviews. We work on your 30-second elevator pitch. When you get into an interview, there is a format to that 30-second elevator pitch. So when you get into an interview and that employer says, tell me a little bit about yourself, you have to be able to stay on point. You have to be able to answer that question precisely, and you have to be able to stay professional with that question. Because I have seen that question being answered a lot of ways that it shouldn't. So again, this particular workshop is free. And I encourage everybody who's interviewing, especially if it's been a while since you've interviewed, you want to take advantage of these resources or that resource. Now, you can find the information or the links for those 4 workshops on our main website, which is www.wfsdallas.com. So www.wfsdallas.com. And that's where you'll be able to go and find the information on those workshops so that you can take advantage of them. How should you show up for a virtual interview? Well, obviously, there's a lot of funny commercials out there, especially the ones advertising Zoom, advertising some of the different platforms where it shows the people, sitting behind the computer and spilling coffee in their lap, and the other employees can see that they are, wearing a suit and tie, but they're in their pajamas, pants. So obviously, you want to make sure that if you're doing a video interview, you want to make sure, obviously, that you are presentable, just like you would if you were going into a face-to-face interview. You want to make sure that and now not necessarily do you have to wear anything other than pajama bottoms, but you want to make sure that what is visible on the screen is professional, and you want to make sure that you dress professionally. And I've seen people come into interviews with t-shirts on and jeans. Well, there are some positions where you can get away with that. Um, if you're applying for a position at a grocery store or at a dollar store or something like that. But if you are applying for a professional position, customer service, again, anything, whether it's IT, accounting, it's a professional position, a management position, you want to dress professionally, just like you would in a if you were having a face-to-face interview. So not a whole lot to discuss about that. But if you have any questions in terms of what you're pulling out of your closet and what to wear, obviously I'm sure everybody knows somebody that is in a professional position that asks in terms of what in terms of what's appropriate to wear. And as the saying goes, if you actually question it, then it's probably wrong. So just make sure that you understand. And again, you can Google what's appropriate for an interview. It's that information you can find easily. Thank you all for your attention. And again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.